Hello, public land lovers. Happy 406 Day. Welcome to the 2021 Public Lands Rally. Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, it's so great to see everybody over here in the chats. My name is Rachel Schmidt. I am the former director of the Montana Governor's Office of Outdoor Recreation. I am the mother of two remarkable sons, and I am devoting a lot of my time to the health of and access to our public lands, water, and wildlife. And thank you guys so much for being here and stepping up and using your voices and taking action for public lands with me today. I miss seeing all of you in person. I know we always love filling the rotunda and just, feeling that vibrating energy and all that sound of the rotunda. There's nothing that replaces it. But virtually today, we're going to make it happen. And even though we're out here, we are going to let everybody in Helena, everybody in the Capitol know that we're here. They're going to feel our energy. It's going to be palpable. I've always said that being a Montanan, it's not a length of time. Being a Montanan is a state of mind. And being a Montana is living a lifestyle. And most often that lifestyle revolves around time outdoors. And the time outdoors really revolves around so much of our public lands. And the way we support all of our way of life is by supporting our public lands. In the past 4 years, during my time spent in the governor's office, working for all of you in partnership with our state, in partnership with other states, in partnership with our federal government, we have all learned how important and how incredible the outdoor recreation economy is. So I just want to touch on outdoor recreation economy for a bit with you guys. And first, I want to give you guys the facts. This right here is a little handout that every legislator, everybody in Helena should have received at the beginning of the year. And some of the facts about Montana within that are that 5.1% of Montana's GDP is contributed to the outdoor recreation economy. Now that's the second highest in the nation. Outdoor recreation generates $7.1 billion in consumer spending in our state. And 96% of Montanans believe that the outdoor recreation economy is imperative to our economic health as a state. Up to 10% of Montana jobs are directly linked to the outdoor recreation economy, and over 81% of us are avid recreationists ourselves. I know, I'm a junkie. And we also, especially after the trials of 2020 and that we're still moving through right now, our reliance on getting outdoors on public lands and recreating is stronger than it's ever been. And we're all seeing the benefits to our health and well-being, especially because of our activities outside. One of the biggest contributors to our economy is that it has been found in our research that outdoor recreation, access, opportunity to the outdoors and open space is the #1 reason that businesses locate in Montana. So those are some really significant facts that everybody needs to know. And what supports all of this that supports us? It's the unique infrastructure that supports our way of life. And that unique infrastructure is public land, water, and wildlife. These are our shared lands, and it's our responsibility to take care of them. Now, I need everybody to know the state of what's going on right now. There's several bills currently moving through the legislature that together will take millions away from public land projects and initiatives like trails, state parks, wildlife habitat, access, and there's also a bill that would pave the way for public land transfer. These are really living right now, and we have to act. These bills would have serious consequences on the public lands that we love and our way of life. So what we're going to do is we're all going to take our phones. Now, if you have your phone, grab it right now. There's a few different ways we can do this. But what you're going to do is you're going to grab your phone. You're going to open up your texts, and you are going to open a new text. And you are going to text MT Rally. That's MTRALLY to 52886. It's going to look just like this. If I can get the camera to pick it up. Of course, it's not picking it up. But that's what you're going to do. When you text MT Rally to 52886, there's also going to be information in the chat stream over there. It's going to give you a link. And when you click on that link, it gives you really easy access to an email that you can send out to legislators telling them how you feel about these bills. So very easy. And if you don't have your phone with you right now, you're going to get an email, or you should have an email with that information in it so you can quickly activate. And what I really want everybody to do is after you do that, after you send those emails, you need to tell all of your friends, even if every one of you can just get 5 friends to do the same thing and take action, it's going to make a difference. So now that we've all got our call to action to tell everybody what we think, I would like to introduce our first speaker. I am very honored to welcome our first speaker. She is an oral historian, a scholar, an entrepreneur, an outdoors woman who is awed with every minute she gets to spend in our vast open backcountry public lands. She's fortunate that she spends a great, and I should say actually we are fortunate that she spends a great deal of her time fostering energy and connecting others to our public spaces so that they can love them as much as us. So if you'll please welcome Francine Spang-Willis.
Thank you.
Wills, so sorry.
Willis, yes, thank you. Greetings, thank you for being here and listening, considering and understanding what I'm about to share with you. I'd like to start with an Indigenous peoples and land acknowledgement before getting into my presentation. As you're probably aware, the American landscape has a layered history. Millions of Indigenous peoples existed on it and engaged with it for thousands of years. Today, millions of Indigenous peoples from over 500 Indigenous nations are still connected to it and engage with it for sustenance, spiritual, and recreational reasons, including but not limited to the following nations in Montana today: the Assiniboine and Sioux, the Blackfeet, the Chippewa and Cree, the Confederated Tribes of the Salish, Kootenai, and Pend Oreille, the Crow, the Gros Ventre, the Little Shell Band, Chippewa Cree, and the Northern Cheyenne. Like our ancestors that were here before us, we need to fulfill our land stewardship obligations so future generations can exist on and enjoy the land like we do today. Part of this stewardship responsibility requires us to understand the landscape's layered history and evolve past processes that do not benefit the land and all living beings on it. We can begin this process by simply acknowledging Indigenous people and their traditional homelands. However, we must not stop there. We must have in-depth discussions about what this acknowledgement and inclusion means in our organizations, structures, and policies. We must continue to strive to not only include Indigenous and other people's perspectives and ways of doing and being, but we need to embrace them. So I'm here today to say first and foremost, thank you to all of you who have done your part and continue to do your part in protecting public lands, funding, and access. I deeply appreciate you and your efforts. I am thankful for public lands, and I know I'm not alone in this appreciation. Across Montana, Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples are connected to public lands, and many of you are committed to protecting them for our future generations. I'd like to strongly encourage some state lawmakers to start supporting public lands for the benefit of the diverse Montanans who love, use, and depend on them. I am of Cheyenne, Pawnee, and settler descent. I'm a descendant of Chief Dullknife, also known as Morning Star, and Pawnee woman. I'm also a descendant of a pioneer family who settled in Montana during the late 1800s. I grew up on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation in southeastern Montana. I was taught from a young age what my ancestors did for me, what they sacrificed, so that I could live here on this sacred, beautiful, and rugged landscape and have access to these majestic places we now call public lands. Like many of you, I have a deep connection to this land. As a child, I enjoyed playing outside with my cousins and friends and helping my grandparents grow big, beautiful gardens every summer. While I was not allowed to go hunting with my dad or grandpa, brothers, or uncles, I was always welcome to go fishing with them. I also enjoyed helping my grandparents process the meat and tan the hides. Every summer, I looked forward to harvesting berries with my family and setting up my grandmother and mother's teepees at the annual 4th of July Chiefs Powwow. While obtaining a Master of Arts in Native American Studies from Montana State University, I enjoyed working as an interpreter at the Bighorn Medicine Wheel in the Bighorn Mountains, and then doing archaeology survey work for the Custer-Gallatin National Forest Service. There, I met some amazing women who also enjoy being on the land as much as I do. While doing this work, I saw and engaged with numerous prehistoric or indigenous sites, and then understood more in depth the reality of the land's layered history. During my studies at Columbia University, I was able to focus on certain settler colonialism processes and how they impact the bison, land, and peoples of the land. I worked with both Indigenous and non-Indigenous narrators from Montana and Wyoming with the intent to help others learn about our land's layered history. By learning about the land's layered history, we can come to a deeper understanding of the sacrifices made for public lands to exist and the significance they play for so many diverse people and other biodiversity. By collaborating with each other to protect public lands, we can help maintain existing spaces and also create new spaces that will benefit the greater whole. These benefits include, but are not limited to, increasing our connection to the land and our stewardship of the land, building a stronger community with each other, and increasing our health and increasing the health of the land and other biodiversity. Today, I enjoy hiking, fishing, skiing, ice climbing, and spending time outdoor with my husband and Beagle near Bozeman in the Crazies, Bridgers, and Tobacco Roots. I also enjoy spending time with family and friends near and in the stunningly beautiful Absaroka-Beartooth Wilderness. In this public space, I am privileged to be able to offer tobacco and give thanks, climb Granite Peak, harvest berries, and hike to and fish at some of the most remote and serene lakes. With each passing year, my connection to and love for this landscape and all living beings on it grows deeper. As my relationship with the land deepens, so does my obligation to protect it for future generations. As a result, I am deeply committed to helping connect and reconnect more people from diverse backgrounds to these public spaces. I hope as their connection to the land grows, so does their desire to be stewards of the land. In closing, as time passes and my relationship with the land grows more profound, so does my appreciation for those who continually put in the time and effort to protect public lands, access, and funding. I cannot express my gratitude enough. Again, I strongly encourage lawmakers to fulfill their responsibility to protect and expand public access for everybody. I'm here to help you do the heavy lifting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francine. I feel so lucky to know you, and thank you for being here with us today. Now, our next speaker, for so many of us, our upbringing has steeped us in the land and where we recreate. But oftentimes the land really sculpts who we are. And if you combine that upbringing with passionate family values around conservation, you definitely come up with a very remarkable Montanan, Andrew Posewitz.
Hello, and thank you. It's very much an honor to speak with you all today for the Montana Public Lands Rally. Thanks, Rachel, for the kind introduction, and Francine for both the land acknowledgement and the inspiring words. I can't speak without acknowledging the challenges that have been thrust upon us by the pandemic, and like you, I would much rather be doing this in the raucous rotunda of the Helena Capitol so that we could shake the windows and rattle the walls. Also, like you, I'm sure that the virus has only served to solidify the necessity of the natural world and the importance of being able to access it. Every data point for the last 12 months has reinforced what we knew in our souls, that wild places are our souls, and without them, we're dead. One of the greatest pieces of advice I ever received in my life was simple. Know the condition you're in when you're in it. It sounds simple, but too often we don't see the threats coming until it's too late. So let's take a second and assess where we've been and where we are. Over 100 years ago, a forest ranger traveled from the Sun River Valley to the North Fork of the Flathead, a journey that took weeks. And in those weeks, he saw a single grouse and a single solitary mountain goat. It's no coincidence that today the elk are so abundant and so massive in that same valley that we have to regulate the collection of their winter sheds. So how did we get from the desperate desolation noted by the ranger to our current abundance? The answer is nearly everyone came together and agreed that restoring the things that were here when the West was settled was worth it. That in fact, we had a duty to return, as close as possible, the natural balance that the mighty indigenous people had achieved eons earlier and was destroyed by commercial hunting. Americans of every fabric pitched in: indigenous people, hunters, public land advocates, thoughtful landowners, and wise legislators from both parties recognized the value of what had been destroyed and agreed to pay the cost of restoring it. The North American wildlife recovery model is now 100 years old, has been wildly successful, and has never been more imperiled than it is on this day. This is our condition. The same greed that leveled the landscape in the late 1800s is emerging from hibernation as our success grows. The greed takes the form of public policymakers representing not the interests of the public or the resource held in public trust, but representing instead those who would seek private profit from the public trust. They are no different than the commercial hunters of the late 1800s, only now they're smart enough to use terms like ranching for wildlife and landowner-sponsored tags. But make no mistake, they're filled with every bit the same greed that led American wildlife to the brink of oblivion. And we are challenged today to be every bit the heroes who brought it back. Ask yourself this: how many people, everyday citizens, show up to the anti-public lands rally? The answer is none. How then do these servants of greed continue to exist and even prosper in the absence of any public support? Well, two reasons. They're well-funded and they have a lot to gain. For example, take the theory behind land transfer. The state cuts taxes for the wealthy, and to make up the revenue shortfall created by the tax cut, the state sells off the land to the wealthy who use their tax cuts to buy the land the state is selling. The road from greed to bad policy is short and it is straight. If you want to know what the beginning of the end looks like, one only need to look at what is occurring in the current legislature in Helena. The session has offered the following: a bill that would require out-of-state hunters to utilize a guide even when they don't want to, which makes no sense until you realize that the wealthy landowners are guiding on that same land. A bill that would make it fundamentally harder to pass a ballot initiative. Keep in mind, initiatives are how we banned leech mining, canned hunts, and outfitter guaranteed tags the first time. Third, a bill that would ban a private landowner from selling their land to certain not-for-profits who would return the land to the public trust. And last, a bill to charge the public for making comment on public policy. Just think about that last one for a second. A bill to charge the public for making comment on policy. Now, some of these bills have been amended or defeated for now, but there's nothing to prevent them from coming back. For 16 years, our movement has had the benefit of leaders in the governor's mansion with the will and the ability to strike down these terrible ideas. However, that is no longer our condition. We are not certain of how the new governor feels about these things. We do know if the governor lived up to his campaign promises, we should be able to rest easy. I think maybe I won't rest easy. The job of stopping this is ours and ours alone, and our time is now. I went to the Capitol last month to testify against one of these bills. Two of the four people who joined me in person were a father and son who had driven all night from Missouri to voice their opposition. The very idea that a bill overturning a citizen's initiative brought only 4 opposing in-person views, including 2 who had driven from Missouri, and less than 10 people online, was not a strong showing on our part. The pandemic is a threat that understandably keeps many of us at home, but it's also allowed us to sign up and testify without having to come to Helena. We must take advantage of this opportunity to have our voices heard and push back. My purpose today, though, is not to lecture or to depress, but to inspire. Our direction is uphill and that hill is steep, but we have one tremendous advantage: you all. Not only do people not show up for the anti-public lands rally, they certainly didn't drive all night from Missouri, because money is no substitute for our passion. Our challenge is how to convert our passion to policy, either through existing policymakers or by changing policymakers. Every person that can hear my voice or read my words has the ability to impact this, and we need every single one of you to meet the challenge ahead. Alone, our voice is a tiny blip in a great wilderness, But together, we are thousands of voices capable of shaking the windows and rattling the walls. I know this because I've seen it with my own eyes, and so have you. And it is time to remind ourselves of how powerful we are together, find our footing, and take offense. Here are 4 things we can do right now, tomorrow, and the day after. First, find out who your representatives are and know their number and their email. As noted earlier, if you text MT Rally to 52886, it will provide a way for you to find this information. When you have an opinion on a bill, share it. They need to hear you, and they need to know you're paying attention. Secondly, technology allows us to reach people faster and allows us to get thousands of letters in minutes, but it also has made us a little lazy. As soon as we are all comfortable showing up, we need to show up in person and in large numbers. They can try to dismiss your emails, and they do, but they cannot dismiss you. Be loud in your neighborhood, not just your echo chamber. We have to respect others' views, but find hearts and minds to change. We don't have to change every mind, just 1 in 10, and we have different outcomes. Lastly, it's important to belong to organizations who further our cause, but it is not enough to send a check and watch. That is what the greedy do, and their checks are bigger than ours. There is a difference between the testimony of paid staff and the testimony of a concerned citizen. My dad used to say this: I have testified in front of the halls of Congress and the locals at Trixie's Saloon, and the latter is far more important. We are the locals at Trixie's Saloon. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for listening today, and I have but one final ask. For years, we have stood on the shoulders of the heroes of our movement. They helped restore our present abundance, and it is our turn today to rise to the challenges of our generation, which are every bit as perilous as the challenges of our history. Make no mistake, our heroes are watching from above, and our kids are looking up to see what we will do. Let's show them. Please go to your figurative barn, grab your figurative saddle, and get ready to ride. Our movement needs your help, and it needs it now. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. For everyone that knows me, you know I'm a hugger, and so I really want to hug Andrew right now. I want to hug everybody right now. Thank you so much for bringing that up. It doesn't end when you vote. You need to participate. You need to communicate with your elected officials. Whether you voted for them or not, you have to reach out and you have to communicate. I noticed in the chat over here, some people have been asking, how do they find out how to testify virtually? And I have gone and I've seen this, I've done this. It's very easy if you search the Montana legislature, but perhaps the organizations that are helping us with this rally today could all post links to that in social media, could post links to that everywhere else. So that's a great tip. I really encourage everyone to do that. I have done that this year. I feel like I'm doing that a lot this year, but that's what we have to do. We have to keep doing this. Thank you so much, Andrew. So our next speaker, I promised him that I would not cry, because whenever I combine public lands and talking about my kids, I get pretty worked up. So the last time I had a chance to see our next speaker, I was actually following him through the National Forest in Southwest Montana. He was sharing his love of vertical ice and ice climbing with a whole bunch of people. And one of those people happened to be my son. He's the guy in the orange, and he is following the gentleman in the checkered right there. He was following this gentleman up the trail. And that little guy right there is an 11-year-old. And it was amazing for me to watch who I consider my son to be kind of the future badass recreation guy out there following the current recreation badass up the trail. And what was inspiring to me the most that day is not that all of the physical feats and adventures they were going to accomplish out there and everything they were going to learn. What was remarkable and inspiring to me is that my son has a role model as amazing as Conrad Anker, who cares about public lands and his spaces as much as his climbing. So I'd like to introduce Conrad.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. You'll probably be after me in 5-10 years when your son's climbing all the time, and you're like, why didn't he choose something that was less risky? But thank you, Francine, for your land acknowledgement and where we are and the importance of everything. And we can never forget all of the Native communities that are here before we are. And Andrew, thank you so much for the current state of affairs and how we got here and the threats that are facing all of us. While we kind of look at outdoor spaces as our playgrounds, and then we kind of distill it down to the economic impact and how good it is and how we need to be behind it. And there's more to life than the bottom line and the financial things that we look at. And in this case, it's the shared public spaces. And while we enjoy getting out and recreating, and I certainly, it's the highlight of every week is getting a chance to go out and be in these spaces with my family and my sons and close friends. But it's moreover, we have an obligation and a responsibility to the land, the inhabitants of the land, the flora and fauna, and to future generations. Here in Montana, we're at the crown of the continent. To the west, the watershed drains to the Columbia River, and to the east, via the Missouri, eventually the Mississippi. The water that comes from our mountains feeds our nation, and we have to take care of that. While we look at the very essence of it, that we have to help promote and save public lands, these are the places that we all get together and we all recreate. And there's nothing more pressing, from my point of view, facing the current Montana State Legislature, these raft of bills that are going to take away our access and further take what people see and the animals that live in these special places away from us. So I encourage all of you, as Andrew said, reach out beyond your echo zone, reach out into your circle of influence, contact everyone that's there with you, and know that what brings us together as Montanans isn't the fact that we can okay fracking or we can sell mineral rights, but it's moreover the shared public lands that we can get to the trailhead, start walking, and we can experience the world in its natural state. And this brings happiness and health to many people. I thank all of you for being part of this, and realize that your voice counts beyond your circle of influence. One final thought. People are like, well, we're talking to the choir. You are the choir. All of us here, we are dedicated. But if we use the metaphor from the houses of worship, it's the choir that comes in early, that arranges the pews, that sweeps the floor, prepares everything, lays the hymnals out, supports the pastor, and we have that voice. All of us, as Andrew mentioned, if we can share our voice to 5, 10, 50, 100 people, we can stop this legislation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Conrad. Thank you, Andrew, Francine. It's been so amazing having you join us and share your words and sage advice with everyone. So thank you so much for sharing your energy, but also thanks to everybody who has joined us today and sharing your energy and spending time here. I mean, this is very, very important. So thank you for joining us today. Again, it's our job. So these are our shared lands. It is our responsibility. Everyone, you need to text MTU Rally to 52886. Make sure you're lighting up those emails. You are sharing that information out with friends, right? Let's get lots of friends out there to do all of this. This is so important. This is not just for our public land. This is generations to come public land. We are just the stewards. We are just taking care of this for the next generation. So make sure you're getting there. You're texting. I would definitely like to see everyone lighting up the emails. Now, after this, there is actually a vehicle parade that is going to be tootling around the Capitol. I am so disappointed I'm not there with my truck right now. But just need everybody to know that those trucks are gathering, okay, cars too, but they're all gathering at 1245 at the northwest corner of the Safeway parking lot at 611 Montana Avenue. So everybody needs to get there, and then they're going to do some circling. So we are going to light up Helena with emails. We are going to light up email with calls, because everybody's got an extra 10 minutes to make a bunch of calls. I want it ringing off the hook. And I would like everybody to excessively honk on the horn for me and everybody else. So let's light up Helena. Thank you so much for everyone being here. I can't wait to see everybody out there. Next time it's going to be in person, and you're all in for big hugs for me. I'm sure everybody else will be in for it too. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and see everybody rolling around the Capitol.